And
But I think the scale of their capacity is considerably higher. I mean, one nuclear weapon is enough. I mean, if you have one nuclear weapon, I'm going to be very careful dealing with you. If you have two, I'm going to be much more careful. The argument that Colin Powell made with the North Koreans, it doesn't matter one or two, that's not correct from my point of view. Two is a big difference from one because these things are unbelievably devastating. But when you're talking about 20 versus 10, I mean, this is, and the potential capacity as this standoff goes on to produce a couple more every year while the standoff is going. If you make the decision to move ahead, that's what you're potentially looking at. So you're looking at an extremely well armed state, surrounded by states that are going to be well armed too. And for what? Who is better off in the end? What kind of environment, if you're Israeli or Saudi Arabian or Iranian, is this for the future security of that region? It's it's like a no-brainer. You know, you have to be devoid of intellect to not see that this is the only solution. This is the solution. I mean, it's not like you can't if you show me a military solution and then we can talk about it. I mean, I'm not one of these people who's opposed to military solutions when there's no other choice. I'm against, military should be the last thing you do. But if you need a military intervention, I'm not one of these people who's going to say no if I really think it's serious enough. You know, St. Augustine convinced me. There are situations where, things could be bad enough that the immorality of war is justified because what is happening is so immoral that, the problem with the St. Augustine, well, it's not a problem with the argument. The problem with the St. Augustine criterion is that you don't know that the military intervention you're going to try to stop this greater evil will not get out of control and cause yet a greater evil in the end. You're hoping that you can stop an evil with a lesser evil, and you can't predict. That's very difficult to do in war. But I'm not philosophically opposed or fundamentally opposed to military force. I think it should be only the last resort, only the last resort. But here, it's no option. It's not an option. It's just that simple. Find a military officer who knows what they're talking about. You can get this guy, what's it, Petraeus, he'll tell you anything. But you talk to a responsible military officer, you know, they're, they're going to tell you, you know, you know, like if someone says, let's do it, I think we can do it. Get one of these guys like Kellogg, maybe, or show me, show me. It's like when people, I was involved in doing nuclear war planning. I know where the ground zeros were. I mean, I was there. I mean, I was in the computer programs where we laid these weapons down. Okay, so I'm not some high policy guy who just saw the chart with a big red sign, big red color, major attack option. I saw what was going on in detail. All right. Now, when somebody tells me, "Oh, we should have more nuclear weapons," my first question is, "How are we going to use them? Show me how we're going to use them." I know how to use them. I've been there. I've been in the planning. Show me where we're going to lay these weapons, how it is going to increase our military capability in a way that could in any way meaningfully increase our national security. If you can show me that, I'm interested. I'm not a I don't think it's a good thing to have nuclear weapons. I generally think that we'd be all better off without them, but all right, they exist. But these people, they make these arguments and they don't know anything. They haven't thought about it. So General Kellogg, explain it to me. I'm just a poor guy. I'm just a silly guy who was an advisor to the chief of naval operations and knew where the ground zeros were. So explain it to me. you know.